friends, it's Michelle from Cozy Egg, and this is episode 124. Today is Monday, January 9th, 2023. So here we are in a new year. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are visiting for the first time, I hope that you find something that resonates with you. So here we are. It's been a long time since you have seen my face. So I think the last videos that I recorded were my vlog from Dark October Stitching, and granted, the last 2 weeks of vlogs I didn't upload until end of November, beginning of December, something like that. So maybe it was later. Anyway, so it's probably only been a few weeks since you saw a video uploaded, but again, those were from October. So it's been a little while. So what I thought I would do is I thought that I would take this video to sort of recap November and December. And then my next video, I'm going to focus more on the new year, what my plans are, all that good stuff. So, yeah. But before I get into recapping, I did just want to share a few things with you. So the first of which is that I have made some changes to my Instagram and my websites. And on January 1st, I announced that change on my Cozy Egg Instagram. So you may or may not have seen it because, as we all know, the algorithm sucks. So I figured I would mention it here too, for those of you who either don't follow me on Instagram or maybe Instagram is hiding my posts from you. So back in 2006, I started my Cozy Egg blog, which was my, obviously my crafting blog, primarily stitching, but also, quilting, knitting, etc. The haunted dollhouse, all that good stuff is in there. And then I want to say 2007, 2008-ish, I started a second blog called Cozy Style. And Cozy Style was basically interior design, fashion, beauty, nail polish, travel, art, movies, books, all that sort of stuff. And then later, I started the Cozy Life blog, which was basically, healthy living, all that good stuff. So over the year, at the time, it made sense to have everything kind of under that cozy umbrella. But what it left me with was essentially 3 blogs that had to all be maintained. And then when I started designing, I opened up my shop on my Cozy Egg Designs website. So that's 4 websites to maintain, basically, is what it boils down to. So at the end of the year, last year, I decided that I would do some refinangling, which is a technical term. I decided that what I would do is I would take my Cozy Egg blog and just move it to the site where my shop is with my designs, with my patterns. So that's all now in one place, cozyeggdesigns.com. So the blog is there. The links to all of my floss tubes are there, and my shop is there as well. So you can subscribe to get notification of new posts in your email. If you're interested in, you can subscribe to get notification of new patterns if you're interested, all that good stuff. So it's all in one place, cozyeggdesigns.com. Easy peasy. And so then what I did was I basically took the other two blogs, I have moved them to one site and completely rebranded it. And as part of that rebranding, I have also created a brand new Instagram account. And so that new name is Invoking Beauty. And I love the name. It really resonates with me because it just feels like it sort of encapsulates all of those things that I want to, really try to focus on that side of things, which is, again, art, books, travel, hopefully sometime in the future, travel, design, style, all of those things that really resonate with me. And so what that allows me to do is now I just have 2 sites instead of 4 sites, which is great. And I can take all of that content with books and what have you, and move it over to Invoking Beauty. So my Cozy Egg Instagram is now going to be refocused on crafting, particularly stitching, designing, all that stuff. And then everything else, the more kind of personal side of things, is going to be over on Invoking Beauty. So that gives you the opportunity to follow the content that you're interested in and not have to follow the content that you are not interested in. So if that sounds like something that you are up for, I would love to have you follow me over on Invoking Beauty on Instagram. And if you were not aware that I had these other blogs, I would love for you to go check out my new website at invokingbeauty.com. And you can see all, 10 plus years of posts that are over there on a variety of things, decorating my home and what books I've read and, all that good stuff. So, yeah. So I'm very excited about it. And I've already gotten some folks that have been so kind with their words and their thoughts, and I really appreciate it. So as always, I appreciate the support. And yeah, so Cozy Egg will be refocused, and everything else will be over on Invoking Beauty. So yeah, excited about that. Okay, so that's kind of the big news. And part of what, prompted that whole move, other than just logistics, is that my my word for 2022 was clearing. And every year I try to choose, a word for the year, a way to kind of focus my intentions, and give myself sort of an anchor, throughout the year. So my word for the year last year was clearing, and I think it was, as is often the case, that word that I choose sometimes has some unintended consequences. There was a lot more clearing than I really anticipated there being, but it's all good because I feel like I was able to let go of some things that no longer serve me. And it gives me the ability to now move forward fresh and excited about the future. So the word that I have chosen for 2023 is authentic. And this move to allow me to, focus on my crafting, my stitching, etc. in one space, but then also to have a space where I can be more personal and explore those things, those topics that are of interest to me, allows me that freedom to be a little more authentic, a little more myself in each of those spaces, and not trying to fit myself into a box. So I'm very excited about it. And the other piece to being authentic this year is that I am going to work very hard to do my own thing and to not feel pressured to do what everybody else is doing. So, so many of you last year on some of my last videos really commented that, that really hit a nerve with you, that really hit a chord. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about allowing myself the freedom to do my own thing. And so we're doing it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to kind of break this video up a little bit, and I'm going to talk about November, and then we're going to talk about December. And I enjoyed vlogging so much over October, and so I thought that I would continue to record some little snippets of things while the month was happening. So even though I didn't get the chance to sit down and record a video, I do have some footage from November and December to kind of share with you. So it'll give you a little bit of a look into what I was up to maybe, and why I did not record a video. Some of that was I was trying to get my feet back under me because I felt a little unsettled, a little off kilter, and I needed some hibernation time to regain my emotional strength. So, all right. So, let's take a look at November. Okay, so November. I spent a significant amount of time in November stitching on a gift, and it has not yet been received, so mostly because it's still sitting in my closet, but I can't show that to you. So I will show you what I worked on other than that gift though. I stitched, obviously we had, you know, on the 13th of the month, I got to revisit one of the pieces that I worked on for Dark October stitching. So I pulled out my Dracula book cover, which is by Damn Good Crafts, and worked on it some more. So I am stitching this with DMC on, it's just 310 so far, on a 40 count Gonder linen, which is in this gorgeous kind of blood red color, which was just the absolute perfect choice for this piece. I'm so excited about how it's looking. So I got a lot done in October, which I'm really thrilled about. When I picked this up to work on it for Dark 13 stitching in November, I really just kind of concentrated on getting some of this border done and bringing this around. That's really all I got done, which is, you know, not a ton, but every little bit counts, right? So that's pretty much what I worked on. I think there's a couple of bats maybe that are over here on this side, but for the most part, all of this, a good portion of this got all done in October. I mean, I think I was like, you know, here or something. And so all this got done. This, you know, top portion got done over here. So yeah, really pleased with how this is looking. So I think I only did it 1 or 2 days. It may have just been one night on this because I was like, I need to get back to this other thing. So worked on that for Dark 13 stitching. And if you are new here, on the 13th of every month, Emily C. Eclectic Possessions and I host Dark 13 stitching. You can use that hashtag, and we stitch on dark, spooky, in my case, gothic things on the 13th of every month. And then in October, we do Dark October stitching and stitch the whole month. So the other thing that I worked on in November was that right around Thanksgiving, I got to stitch with some friends of mine. And if you recognize this bag, you know what it was that I was stitching on. It was my Chatelaine Designs Egypt Garden. And I tend to pull this out every time I stitch with this group of friends because many of them are also chatelaine stitchers, and so it just seems kind of appropriate. So, and I met several of them through chatelaine stitching. So here is where I'm at with this. I am stitching this on 32 count Days Gone By by Silk Weaver, but this is old Silk Weaver, so don't get excited. So I basically did all of the fill-in on this quadrant that afternoon, and then I think I worked on it one more night because I wanted to get that whole quadrant filled in. So there are some little empty spaces where some beads go, but for the most part, that is solid fill-in. So, and this center area here is will be fully beaded. Ooh, you can see my sparkle. That will all be fully beaded, as will, you know, this area around that little fish pond. That will all get beaded as well. So, yeah. So 2 quadrants finished. I've got 2 more to fill in. So the next time I stitch with them, I will work on the fill-in on the next quadrant. But I really love how this looks, and I'm really excited to be making some progress with it, even if it's intermittent. I enjoy working on it. I enjoy visiting with that group of friends, and yeah. And this piece is done in a variety of threads. So there's DMC in here, as you can see. There is petite treasure braid in here, and there are silks in here. There's some water lilies, some dinky dyes, there's some glorianas, and some silken colors. So there's the whole gamut of things in here. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard to see the colors because of the way I have this on the ring, but still beautiful. And I love this piece. I'm really, really thrilled with it. So happy to be making progress on it. So that's basically what I worked on in November. And like I said, the bulk of the month was spent working on that gift. And hopefully I will be able to show that to you maybe in my next video. Maybe the one after. Well, I'm just not even, at some point I'll show it to you. So I am going to continue to talk books and personal life updates and whatever else in these videos because I just want to. So while I'm separating things on Instagram, these videos are going to continue to just be me. So you get what you get. So books. So in November, I continued reading on The Historian. I started this in October, and it took me through the whole month of November as well to get this finished. This was a reread for me. This book is one of my favorite books ever. And I was a little nervous about rereading it. I had intended to reread it in 2021, in October 2021, and I just never got to it. So this year it was mandatory that I reread it in October. And so I picked it up in October. And like I said, it basically took me the whole month of November. It is a fairly good sized book. I think it's about 650 pages. So it's not the longest book that I read in 22, but I really took my time with this. Some of that was due to not having a ton of time to read. Some of it was due to I just wanted to savor every little bit of this book. This book is, it's like, it's gothic, dark academia at its finest. It's vampires, it's history, it is myths, it is folklore, it is Vlad Tepes. You know, it's the whole thing. It's, you know, just I can't say enough good things about this book. I really cannot. And highly, highly recommend. When I posted about it on Instagram, I was shocked and thrilled at how many people have read this book and that they love it too. So I never hear anybody talking about this book. So I was kind of surprised that so many people had read it. But if you haven't, I highly recommend it. She has written another book called The Swan Thieves, which has been sitting on my shelf for a million years, but I have not read it. So that may be on my list of things to do. But The Historian, absolutely worth a read. Absolutely. So that is basically what I read in November. So shall we take a look at December? So, December. I pretty much only worked on Jane Anne in December. So Jane Anne is the Bristol sampler that I am reproducing, and I am in the midst of stitching the model for it. So this is basically what I worked on all of December. I worked on it some in November. I can't remember exactly what I worked on in November, but and then obviously I've worked on this a few days in January, but for the most part, this is December progress. So here is where I'm at, and I have it out of the Q-snap so that I could kind of show you where I'm at. And this is as wide as it is. So those first 3 rows are completely finished. And it took me a good bit of time to get that accomplished because I found a big error, which required me to have to rip out and restitch a whole bunch. So I was stitching along and, was working on this row of this sort of old English alphabet, got all the way over here, did the, this bed number, did this little ladder motif, and then went back to meet my R, which is where I had left off on this top alphabet, and things did not match up, which is not what you want to happen. It's kind of like when your border doesn't match up, right? So it took me a little while to figure out where my mistake was, but suffice it to say, it was back a good ways. So my mistake was actually this F. And that crossbar, I had made 3 stitches across instead of 2 stitches across. And so then every letter was 1 stitch to the right. So all of those had to come back out. My STUV had to come back out. This motif and the bed number all had to come out. So all of that got ripped out and restitched. And these old English letters are no joke. There's a lot to them. So I actually loved stitching this alphabet at the top with the little curly cues. I enjoyed that one. This old English one was a little rough, especially having to do it twice. So I got that corrected, and then I started working further on my other alphabets. So I finished off this row, and then now I have been working on these bottom 2 rows. And once I finish these last 2 rows that you can see here, that is the end of the top row of pages. So that's basically 5 pages. And I'm stitching this on 56 count, and I'm stitching it with a soie surfine, which is an Aversois silk, but it is finer than the 103, which is really what you want for the higher count, the 56 count. And I'm really pleased with the coverage that I'm getting. I'm really pleased with the way that it looks on the fabric. So that's where I'm at. And like I said, that I worked on it a little bit in November, all of December, and then, a couple days into January. So, but the bulk of that progress was in December. So I did, I would have loved to have stitched on something seasonal, some Christmas stitching, but I knew that I really needed to focus on this and try to get this done. And I did not do dark 13 stitching in December because I was afraid if I let because I was right in the midst of having to rip all that stuff out and restitch it. And I was afraid that if I let myself take a break, I would not go back to this. So I just kept at it and got all of that ripped out, restitched, moving forward. So that's what I worked on in December. And like I said, next time I will show you what I've been working on in January along with Jane Ann. So this is Jane Ann 1871. And like I said, she is a Bristol sampler from the Bristol Orphanage. So, and I hope to have her released this year. So, all right. So that's what I worked on in December. And I did want to share that one of the things that happens in December that I absolutely love is Vlogmas. So two of my favorite yarn dyers did Vlogmas this year, and as usual, I thoroughly enjoyed watching their videos. So they basically release a video every day from December 1st through the 25th, and it is so delightful. Just absolutely, like, it just makes my whole kind of holiday season to watch these videos and to look forward to them every day. And it's just kind of these little, you know, sort of slice of life, you know, vlogs, and watching them open advent calendars and, you know, whatever. Just, I don't know what it is about that, but it just brings me a whole lot of happiness. So I watched Suburban Stitcher and Plies and Hellhounds. So really loved those, and that just was such a bright spot in my holidays, getting to watch those vlogs. I have another vlogger that I have fallen completely head over heels in love with, and she is primarily a book vlogger, and so Kat Karas, Katkaras. I'm also really enjoying her videos. She reads a lot of fantasy, romance, and also some, you know, sort of gothic, dark academia kind of books as well. So really loving her videos. So that has been so much fun watching those. So let's look at what I read in December. So I finished up The Historian. I was supposed to start rereading for me a new series on December 1st with some friends, but I still had a little bit of ways to go on The Historian, and I wanted to finish that up first. So it took me a few days into December, but I finished up The Historian, and then I started on this series. So the series it's the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning, and there's about like 11 or 12 books, I think, in the series. I originally read these back in, I want to say, like 2013, somewhere in there. And someone had, you know, lent me their first 4 books. I read them, loved them. Now I admit, when the first book, I was kind of like, I'm not so sure about this. And going back and rereading this first book again, I was like, okay, I see why I was a little skeptical, because with each book, the writing gets better. And with each book, the main character really becomes less superficial, less Barbie-like. And so, you know, as she grows as a character and the writing improves, it just, you know, it kind of takes off from there. So kind of going back to this book, it's kind of like, whoa, I'd forgotten how this reads. But they're pretty quick reads, you know, they're not super big. But I decided that since I was rereading these, I was going to purchase the hardbacks, chase these down to add them to my own personal library. So I have been buying a couple of them at a time so that I have them. So that has been fun as well. And so I'm reading this with 3 friends, one of which is the one that is Annette, who I read the Black Dagger Brotherhood with over the past year. So I convinced her to read these. I think she had read the first one, but hadn't read beyond that. And so I convinced her to read these with me, and then we roped a couple other people into. So the first book is called Dark Fever, and these are paranormal romance. So they're so good. The second book, so I read Dark Fever. I went right into Blood Fever, which is the second book. I love the moon on this cover. And then the third book, raced right into that one, is called Fae Fever, and finished this one as well. So I finished this book, I want to say on like the 29th of December, and I had set my Goodreads goal at 50 books for this year, and this was number 49. And I was like, I am determined I'm going to hit my 50 for the year, but I only had like 2 days left. So, and book 4 for this series is longer. And I was like, I am not going to get that read in 2 days. There's no way. So I decided to pick up another book that had been calling to me from my bookshelves that I knew that I could whip through. So that book is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. And this was another reread for me. In fact, it was, I guess this is probably my 3rd time reading this, because this was originally Twilight fan fiction, just like 50 Shades of Grey. So I originally read it as Twilight fan fiction. It was then published by Christina Lauren as an actual book, which of course then I read. And they have since written a ton more books. Really love their writing. But I heard a song the other day when I was driving to go get my allergy shots, and it reminded me of this book, and I was like, I need to pick that up and read it. So I reread it, really enjoyed it, zipped through it. So I finished it in a day, hit my goal of 50 books, which hurrah. And I'm really glad that I reread this. Now, what I will say is, I found myself missing some of the content that was in the original story. And so there were things that I was expecting to happen that didn't happen because they had obviously cut them out. And this book does not end where that story does. That story goes on quite a bit. So I sort of felt like I was missing the ending. So now I'm kind of wondering if I need to go back and read the original again, because I enjoyed it. It was a good quick read, but it also left me kind of feeling kind of unresolved. That's not the word I'm looking for. Unsatisfied. It left me feeling a little unsatisfied. So now, had I not read that other book, I don't think, that other story, I don't think I would notice at all. I wouldn't feel like something was missing. This is a complete story in and of itself, but knowing what I know, I was kind of missing that. So anyway, finished that, and then I was able to start the 4th book in the Fever series. So I will talk more about that in my next video, but that got me to my 50 books for the year, which I was thrilled with, even though it was kind of by the skin of my teeth. And I set my goal at 50 again for this year. So we'll see how I do. But that was December. So not much more to that than there was. So but I do have some plans for the year, and I have been kind of mulling around what I wanted to talk to you about and show you in my next video. So I've got some ideas, but I felt like I really needed to kind of do a recap since it's been 2 months since I recorded anything and since you've seen my face, just to kind of get you up to speed with what's been going on with me, what I've been working on, what I've been reading, all that good stuff. So yeah, so that's it. I hope that your holidays were wonderful. I hope you got some time to do some stitching and relaxing and spending time with friends or family or your cats. Whatever it is that makes you happy. And welcome to 2023. So thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much for continuing to be so supportive and wonderful. I really appreciate it so much, and I appreciate having like-minded folks here that love a good story, love a good ramble, and that you're not just here for the stitching. So Happy New Year's, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.